The FBI and Department of Justice are looking further into the death of Elijah McClain to see if a federal civil rights investigation is warranted. As you might remember, police confronted the 23-year-old black man as he was walking home from a convenience store in Aurora, Colorado, last August. Officers detained McClain, who was not armed and was not accused of committing any crime. After a struggle ensued, McClain was put into a chokehold and given a sedative. McClain would suffer a major heart attack and die 3 days later. For more on this, let's bring in Dillon Thomas. He is a reporter with our CBS station in Denver, KCNC. Hi, Dillon. Thank you for being with us. So what exactly is the Department of Justice looking into, and how will they determine whether a federal civil rights investigation is needed here?
You know, they started to get involved right about the time where this started to become more of a national case. This has been going on for the better part of 10 months now, but it wasn't until the deaths of George Floyd and others that this really started to get the attention. So right now, when it comes down to the civil rights case, they actually have to go out and prove that his civil rights were violated in terms of Elijah had a right to be out walking to his home from that store where he bought some tea. So right now, they are out there trying to see whether or not his civil rights were violated because he has a right to freely walk and not be killed by police for simply walking home. We should note he had not committed a crime at the time when the 911 call was made, reporting that he was acting odd. So right now, investigators are looking into whether or not there was an issue around when the police responded and took the action that they did, if his civil rights were violated, because technically Elijah had not committed a crime when they had made contact with him. So right now, they're looking into whether or not the officer showed intent to violate his civil rights.
And so then how does a federal civil rights investigation differ from other investigations? If the outcome shows that his civil rights were violated, how does that, escalate the situation? Does it then immediately warrant charges against the officers? What would the outcome be?
Right now it all comes down to proving different levels of proof within the case as well. You figure the officers went already through an internal investigation months ago when this originally happened. This was back in 2019 at the end of August. So the police department already went through their investigation over whether or not their officers followed the protocol in this issue, and they determined that the officers did indeed follow protocol when it came down to their contact and the handling of the Elijah McClain case. Then you move on to the city investigation, going on to the state investigation, where the state can then investigate whether or not any state policing laws were violated, and that process is still going on. And then, as we just talked about, the introduction of the civil rights violations possibly being investigated now. So there's 3 different tiers that the officers' investigations are now going through when it comes down to their conduct with the Elijah McClain case. And right now, the federal court actually has a larger burden to be able to prove that the civil rights were actually intentionally violated when it comes down to the Elijah McClain case. So one of the main things that they're looking at is, once again, the fact that Elijah had not committed a crime when they first made contact with him. However, after that, it was said in the body camera and in the police report as well that someone attempted to grab, Elijah attempted to grab one of their firearms. And they also noted that he technically resisted arrest when they told him to stop, and he continued to go. But in the body camera video, Elijah is heard saying, "I'm sorry, I had my headphones on, I didn't hear what you were saying." So there's a lot of different things that are going on, and it's kind of hard to answer a lot of these questions, especially because the 3 officers that originally responded, all of their body cameras dislodged during the altercation. So there's going to be a lot of piecing together with audio and also the reports that were given. But once again, Elijah isn't here to be able to say his side of the story.
Of course. And so, Dillon, looking back to the night of Elijah's death, trying to piece together what exactly happened, police placed McClain into a chokehold and called paramedics, who then administered a disproportionately large amount of ketamine, which is an anesthetic used, to calm people. So, Dillon, is that standard protocol? You say that the officers already passed an investigation that determined that they did adhere to protocol. So that is standard protocol for paramedics in Aurora to give, someone like Elijah, who was only 140 pounds, a dose fit for a 220-pound person?
You know, I don't know if that's something they've done in the past, but I just got off the phone yesterday. It's actually the Aurora Fire Department who runs the paramedics in that area, and the paramedic who administered the ketamine is an Aurora firefighter. I just got off the phone with them yesterday, and they would not tell me the current status of that employee, if he's whether still on the force or not. But they did tell me this is something that they regularly use when they are responding to situations where someone is being more agitated and may need to be calmed down in their response. As for the levels of ketamine and the amount that was administered, we are not sure why they actually gave him the levels that they did. We should note that the actual drug ketamine was provided by a third-party paramedic private company. I believe their name is Falk Paramedics, and they came to the scene and they provided the drug to the paramedic from Aurora Fire, who then administered it behind Elijah's ear. From there, Elijah was actually taken to an area hospital that is near the location where he was arrested, and the coroner's report and Aurora police both suggest that it was actually the ketamine and a reaction to the ketamine that caused Elijah to die, that it was not the actions taken by the officers, because Elijah did have at least 2 heart attacks from what we are told. So as for the protocol, we are told that many area agencies here in Colorado do use ketamine to try and sedate individuals who are seen to be in an agitated state.